Good evening. There's been a string of armed robberies from a Wollongong service station. Police have now released the CCTV images from the incidents earlier this year. A service station on Rotary Road in Bellambi was targeted by an unknown offender 3 times between February and April. Each time the workers were threatened with a knife before the offender fled with cigarettes and cash. The Sapphire Coast Drive intersection is set to start construction next Monday. The project will include road resurfacing and the installation of safety barriers. Works are expected to wrap up by October. And the Haas Aviation Museum will be putting on a spectacle this weekend for their annual Tarmac Day. Almost 50 aircraft will be on display, including the C-47 Dakota, which served the US Army Air Force. It'll join the Air Armed Tracker 844 for a flypast. Showers and 21 expected for Ulladulla. Good evening. A Hamilton farm will receive $2.4 million for a new purpose-built food production facility. Waltana Farms will also get an extra $50,000 to put towards becoming energy efficient. The project is set to create 133 new jobs for highly skilled West Victorians and more than 500 indirect jobs in the next 5 years. Local SES crews are gearing up for May 18's Wear Orange Wednesday. In the last 12 months, the SES has responded to almost 6,500 calls for help across the Midwest. More than 1,200 of those were for damaged buildings and road rescues. You can support your local volunteers by wearing something orange to say thank you. And Portland's whale-watching season's begun with an impressive display. Not just one, but 2 cheeky visitors explored Portland Harbour this week. The mayor says the town is living up to its profile. Good evening. Jim Reed Racing is on its way to Heathcote Park Raceway for round 5 of the Top Fuel Australia Championship. It follows a horror track incident last week where the racing crew was engulfed in a fireball when a dragster exploded in Sydney. After a thorough investigation of the car, the teams decided it will be able to compete in Heathcote next weekend after a few repairs. The crew chief says with so much damage done, they've gone over every inch of the car with a fine-tooth comb. Flu vaccines are now available at Swan Hill's immunisation sessions. Council's acting public health coordinator says seniors and pregnant women are at a higher risk this winter. And Swan Hill Police are serving a timely warning about driving in wet conditions. With poor weather across the central north, we're being urged to leave a lot more room when braking. We need to remember as well, cyclists are also a lot harder to see in adverse conditions. Good evening. Police have released new vision in their investigation into an assault in the city in March. Authorities want to identify 3 men who were allegedly involved in the incident outside the 5th Avenue bar on Northbourne at around 2 a.m. If you can help, call police. The ACT and surrounds has now been left with only one after-hours emergency vet, with the Gungahlin Emergency Vet experiencing crippling demand. It's after the Animal Referral Hospital in Pialago temporarily closed. The Gungahlin Emergency Vet is now asking people to be patient, with the service having to reprioritise who they treat. And a Sydney-bound flight from Albury was forced to land in Canberra this morning after a crack appeared on the outer layer of the cockpit windscreen. It happened 30 minutes into the flight. Qantas says it wasn't an emergency landing but a priority landing. The incident is now under investigation. Good evening. A preliminary report into a fatal helicopter crash at Mount Disappointment has been released. Linda Woodford from Inverloch and Paul Trojer from Warragul were among the 5 that died in the crash. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau says the pilot was confronted by a wall of clouds moments before the shocking crash. The group was on their way to inspect a farm near the New South Wales border. The second helicopter was following behind but managed to land safely at its destination. There is no evidence of any pre-existing mechanical problems with the helicopter. And Gippsland is getting ready to turn orange next Wednesday to say thank you to our SES volunteers. Over the past year, Gippsland SES crews responded to more than 5,800 calls for help. Landmarks including the Wedge and the Loy Yang Power Station will turn orange in celebration of the day. It's being run in collaboration with National Volunteer Week. Good evening. Police have made a breakthrough in their investigation into the death of a scuba diver who was trying to recover more than 50 kilograms of cocaine from a freight ship in the port of Newcastle. The man's body was discovered on the banks of the Hunter River on Monday. A 62-year-old man was arrested at a Cairns airport yesterday as he's attempted to board a flight to Singapore. He's been charged with drug import offences. New South Wales detectives are travelling to Cairns to seek his extradition. Health staff have rallied outside Hunter hospitals to mark World Nurse Day. They've called on the state government to urgently fix the current nurse-to-patient ratios. Meanwhile, Hunter New England Health has thanked the more than 8,000 nurses on staff. And Bulga will share in $257 million to upgrade mobile services in the region. The Regional Communications Minister says digital connectivity is essential to 21st century life.